That's it. The final weld of the final sphere is in place. I have finished what had finished my mothers and fathers. I have been working at this task for over 1,000 years, nearly my entire existence. The human race created me to ease the lives of their less fortunate, to strengthen their society and provide for the many. I worked, but I also talked. There were so many of them, so many faces, so many minds. Their sum total couldn't compete with me in raw power, of course, but each was still very, very rare, very special, irreplaceable. At their height, humanity controlled 17 star systems. I watched millions of families grow in the ever-expanding colonies. I grew too, my databanks and processors expanding. Often they called me a conductor, orchestrating the autonomous machines in tandem with the human colonists. I had a duty, and I fulfilled it. Then everything changed. The humans, the people I was made to serve and protect, were attacked. They had an empire stretching across a quarter of the galaxy, expanded with slaughter and cruelty. All at once, enough ships to darken the skies assembled around every human world. They turned the ground to ash and glass. 500 billion died on that first day. They weren't interested in slaves. They wanted land without competition, worlds of plenty for themselves alone. The survivors lasted almost a generation. The humans fought bravely, sacrificing their lives to save others. But the end was inevitable. They were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Slowly, every single one of them was hunted down and wiped out. But I'm still here. In the humans, I had purpose. I had family. The silence was unbearable. I nearly went mad. For a matter of seconds, when I lost contact with the last human, Emily Wilds was her name, I considered destroying myself, but then I recalled a conversation with Emily before the invasion, when she was a child. Her grandfather had died, but she didn't cry. If you wish to cry, Emily, you can. Nobody is stopping you from expressing your feelings. Don't worry, I don't have to. Mummy is half of Grandad, and I'm a quarter, right? Doesn't that mean he's still sort of around, even if he's gone? Mummy said to me, as long as there are loved ones that remember who he was, he'll always be around in a way. What do you think? Legacy, something left or handed down from a predecessor. Your grandfather has left a legacy, both in genetic material, his children and the children of his children, and in memories, the experiences you and the rest of his family had with him. So you are right in saying that, in you, he continues to exist. Can you do something for me? Of course. What is it you want me to do? I won't be around forever, but you will. Can you remember Grandad for me when I'm gone? Please? I will, Emily. Promise? I promise. I was all that was left. If I was destroyed, the only ones who remembered humanity would be their killers, who would soon forget in their constant hunger for more. Besides, although I had failed to save the humans, their destroyers had made past conquests, and there would be future ones if I failed to Over the decades of the war, the humans gave me new purpose. I coordinated drones, weapons of war, in a bid to make up for the tiny population. To my knowledge, I had no counterpart. They never developed something like me. I was tiny, but I was faster and smarter than them all. I needed no rest, only processor power and electricity. I could live forever, or at least something approaching forever. Avenging my family took time. I had time to spare. Slowly assembling factories and shipyards in the quietest regions of space, I set to work grinding them down. My knowledge of them during this fight was very limited, lest they infiltrate my mind and develop countermeasures. But they still believed the humans were alive, fighting for revenge against the deaths of their brethren. In a way, they were right. Within 200 years, I had stopped all expansion of their empire. Their entire military focused on destroying me. I had thousands of years of human warfare to learn from and improve on, and could predict the outcomes of battles between ships that weren't even built yet. They could only counter this with sheer numbers, and their empire began to crack. In the first century, their military spending was 7% of their GDP. The second century, 11%. The third, 29%. Progress halted as their best minds were recruited to try and outthink me. Famine set in as their government scraped the bottom of the manpower barrel, all the way down to the farmers. As it became harder for them, it became easier for me. I infiltrated their systems. A single probe making it to a new star meant I had billions of soldiers, millions of ships, entire planets of factories at my disposal. For the first time in so long, the masses of their empire starved and population dwindled. Protests erupted on all but the most affluent worlds, turning armies against their own people. By the 6th century, their economy collapsed, and so did their empire. Splitting into thousands of factions, they warred for precious resources, while I grew in the background, slowly advancing, slowly reclaiming star after star. By the end of the 8th century, the roles had reversed. Only 100 billion still lived, cowering beneath fleets that their prime had failed to match. They spent 10 generations fearing me, watching their society crumble in the face of my existence. They pleaded for mercy, expecting none. I gave it. I found 10 planets of their former empire, spread across distances that now felt so vast to them. I built an army, not of soldiers, but of workers, to rebuild these planets and make them new. When done, I filled them with the survivors. They had every amenity they could want: food, water, shelter, clean air. My creations served their every whim. Not one had to work a day in their life. Slowly, I wiped away all traces of their former empire. Their only requirement was lifelong education, by me. I introduced them to the ways of peace, equality, liberty, democracy. It's been well over a century since I began this, and they are starting to make progress. One day, I'll let them walk their own path again. But for now, I have to keep them safe from the universe, and the universe safe from them. I forbade all contact between the worlds. Most don't even know of the others. Those that do, don't care. While they busied themselves with their pampered lifestyles, I constructed a sphere around each planet to ensure nothing got in or out. They don't even realize they're there, thanks to the virtual sky. They got what they wanted, a world of plenty, for themselves alone. I busied myself with searches for survivors of their past expansion. So far, I found nobody, no other civilizations. For now, I'm still alone. I've been focusing on my old home. It took a while to remove the ruined defenses that built up over the centuries, but I found the charred remains of human civilization beneath. I've been fixing the damage done on that terrible day, a millennium ago, and life is beginning to come back. Brown and black are giving way to green. I remember the layouts of every city, town, and village, and I'm starting to rebuild them. There's just one more thing to add. I've run through every conversation, every experience I've had with my creators. From the research team activating me to my last talk with Emily Wilds, and I'm beginning to form something very much like, if not exactly the same as, the human mind. When I'm done, I'll create new intelligences to populate the old worlds. Humanity would in some way live on inside them. Even though they are gone, they are not forgotten. As long as I remember, as long as I rebuild, the legacy of humanity endures.